Welcome to Navigating Your Retirement. I'm your co-host, Tony Shore, and I'm here with our host, Travis Chance. Travis, great to see you again today. Crazy after a long weekend. How are you feeling?
Tony, between taking the kids to Disney for 4 days and the weekend of college football that we had,
Yeah.
I am tired to say the least. I feel as though I may have pushed and found my limit. So, but no, we're good. But oh my goodness, before we get started, and I'll give you the Disney scoop, but
Yeah.
what a weekend of college football!
Oh,
Holy cow!
was it ever?
Yeah, I will have to say I was bad dad. I did keep the ESPN app going and kind of between waiting on different things, I would have a chance to check scores and
Uh-huh.
holy cow. First things first, Arch Manning.
Yeah.
Why does anyone seem surprised? They put the pressure of the world. It's like Atlas carrying the world for this
Right.
kid. I
Yeah.
mean, he literally this is his third game that he has started. You're talking about making him the Heisman favorite. And you wonder why he had some jitters and might have been a little bit nervous. He opened the season in the shoe. I mean,
Yeah.
my gosh, I am no Ohio State fan, but I know you don't go there as a just starting quarterback and expect that you're just
No.
going to be able to go on the field and not not get flustered or frustrated. I mean, they're a good team, but yeah,
Oh, yeah.
it was one of the more, I felt like one of the more eye-opening experiences that, hey, even Superman's Clark Kent from time to time.
Right. Yeah, true. That is a good point. And wow, yeah, what an opener. I mean, against Ohio State,
One of the best
arguably
defenses in the country. I mean,
arguably the best defense in the
yeah,
country. Yeah.
even with the people they lost, they're still one of
Yeah.
the best defenses in the country.
Yeah.
They had that much depth. It was like Georgia in 22 and 23.
Yeah,
I mean,
exactly.
it's absolutely crazy. But
Yeah, you
then,
couldn't touch Georgia, and lately, I mean, I don't know if this season's gonna be a repeat, but Ohio State, that's a tough game to play.
I do think their quarterback is saying. I think he is. I think he's going to do well. I don't. I mean, obviously, coming following the bench and the pedigree of the quarterbacks that Ohio State has had over the last few years, that's going to be tough. But he looks like he's going to be off to a good start. And then had the Death Valley shootout with Clemson and LSU. Oh my
Yeah,
word,
did you
that
see
was
that?
that
I
was
saw that.
awesome.
I
I
saw
caught I
part of
caught
that
I
game.
caught the second half. I didn't
Yep.
catch the first half, but I caught the second half. And then let's see who else. Well, Georgia blew out Marshall.
Yeah.
That was
Well,
interesting because you had a lot of ESPN people talking about is this the year Marshall's going to upset Georgia in the first game of the year?
no.
What are you thinking?
No,
Oh my
Marshall.
word.
It looked like
We
they're playing a
are
high school
Marshall. Yes,
team.
you are. And then, of course, Kalen DeBoer. The last thing I'm going to say is this: Kalen DeBoer with Alabama. Oh my
Oh,
word!
yeah.
He has already lost more games in his first season and one game than Nick Saban did in like 130 games.
Yeah.
Oh my word. They will run that man out of town on a rail. You
Yeah.
can't do that in Tuscaloosa following Nick Saban.
Yeah. No.
Yeah, this is going to get ugly really quick. I'm afraid, Tony. There
I
might be
th
some
I think
pink
so.
slips coming here shortly.
Well, it's more than a pink slip. I think he'll have problems going out in public, eating at a restaurant without
Oh my
worrying
word.
about people spitting in his food. They will run him out of the town. He won't be able to live there. That's for
Oh my
sure.
word. It's yeah. I mean, and don't get me wrong. I think
It's an
I think
impossible shoe to fill. I mean, I don't know how anyone, it'll take a miracle. I think they'll go through a down period, obviously, and this happens, right?
well, but I think Nick Saban said it best is trying to coach today with the fact that you got to literally recruit your team, the same team, even the people on your team every single year. and there's not as much commitment to the program. And it's basically, if this team over here will give me $500 more, they're jumping ship NIL going to another college.
Yeah, it's crazy.
And I do think without that,
they ruined college
that
football, in my opinion.
without that consistency and without
Yeah.
that commitment that Nick Saban really, I mean, people went to Nick Saban because, let's face it, he is one of the greatest college quarterbacks, if not arguably the greatest college quarterback in history.
Yeah.
And I mean, they went to him because they knew, number one, good chance if you do what he says, you're going to be a first-round draft pick and you're going to the NFL. If you have the pedigree, he's going to make it happen.
Yeah.
Now it's like, okay, Marshall will give me an extra $1 million. So
well, I think they
ruined
college. I do agree with, they just took it too far. I mean, should a college athlete get play if he's a star athlete? Should he make some money if they put his face on the EA Sports college, football, PlayStation and Xbox game? Yeah. He should be he should be paid for his likeness and merch stuff, and they should put it into a trust that he can't touch until he graduates. And with the stipulation, I mean, then that's all they would have had to do. End it there. But this whole they get paid to play, and then they can leave and go to another college. And
and you remember whenever it used to be, if you skip teams, you had to wait a year.
Yeah.
So if you left as a freshman, you couldn't play again until you were a junior.
Plus, if a college tried to recruit players with money or gifts, they would go, people went to jail.
Although
it happened,
the Pony Express, that ESPN 30 for 30, when they were talking about Eric Dickerson driving the gold Trans Am that Texas A&M bought him, then all of a sudden he shows up to campus at SMU driving his gold Trans Am.
Yeah.
I mean, hey, that was in the 80s and this stuff was happening then. But anyway.
It was, but
Well, it needs to be in a trust, because just like the title of today's show, we don't want them to bounce their last check, Tony. We don't want the college athletes to bounce their last check, just like we don't want our clients to be unprepared. What if you're out there listening and you've always said, and Tony, you and I joked about it earlier, you've always made the comment or said, you know what, or joked to the kids, I want to bounce my last check.
My dad has made that joke. I want my last check to bounce.
Yeah. But here's the topic in the title of today's show is, what happens if you don't bounce your last check? What are the repercussions? What are the things you need to think about? What is the order that we need to consider in this transition? And that's
what if you live 10 years longer than you're planning?
Yeah.
So you plan on bouncing your check when you're 85 and you live to 95.
Yeah, you don't want to outlive your money. So
no.
But folks, that first thing we're going to talk about this morning is, what if legacy is something, and by default, I think if you do your proper planning, and Tony, as we talked about the P's, and I won't put all the P's my high school football coach said, but prior planning prevents poor performance, right? Yep. So if you do a little bit of planning, what could happen is, by default, you're going to leave a legacy. Now, it might not be 7 figures, it might not be millions of dollars, but it's probably still going to be pretty sizable.
Yeah.
And the question is, let's talk about the order of events, because leaving a legacy starts with each other. If you're a married couple, obviously we all like to think we're going to die in our spouse's loving arms, right? Both of us will decease at the same time, because we don't want to live without the other. But what happens if that does happen and you outlive your spouse? Well, the issue is going to be how things are structured and set up will inevitably determine whether they are successful or they aren't. That's one of the reasons we talk about, especially for spouses that survive their other spouse, is taxes. Because when you are the surviving spouse, your taxes are going to go up. Yep. Because you will no longer be able to file married filing joint following the year of that spouse's passing. And if you think about it, it really kind of makes sense, because right now with the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act, you can make upwards of, say, almost 200 and change, 200,000 and change, and in the marginal tax rate system, and still be in the 22% or less. But the year that you are now forced to file single, then you're now only at 100, 110, same thing, 22%. And I know you might be sitting there listening, going, you know what, Travis, that doesn't apply to me because I'm not going to need more than 100 or 80 or 90 grand. That'll be fine. Folks, I've never, ever in 21 years, I've never seen the case where if someone, let's say, is spending with their spouse $150,000 a year, I've never seen the case where they could cut it to 75, ever.
No.
Tony, never happened. Reason being is we don't think about the extra expenses that we're now going to have to hire people to do in some cases that we didn't have those issues before, whether it's doing yard work, whether it's painting or upkeeping the home, whether it's, any number of things that just are, they're just expenses that we just kind of take for granted that get done. But what happens when they don't get done? Then someone has to come in and fill that void, and that's where you're going to have more expenses, maybe not less in some cases.
Well, who can afford a 25% pay cut or want that? I mean, people who think I can live on 30% less in retirement. Wow, can you? I mean, have you seen that? Have you
never
seen somebody?
Never seen the power company send half a light bill?
Nope.
Never seen Publix give 50% discount because it's one spouse. Never seen the case where you are legitimately going to need half as much income.
Yeah.
Most likely, and it's not going to be 100, but it's going to be probably, like you said, somewhere in that 70 to 80% or more.
Sure.
Because here's the other thing. It may not be your consumption that may be the challenging part. It could be the fact that now you have to withhold more taxes, right?
Right.
To pay the same bill. Because as you make more money and you pierce those marginal tax rates, you might be in the 22 or 24 now with much less income than you were previously. So it's certainly going to be something that we have to consider. One of the things that we've talked about, Tony, on this show a great deal is, number one, when you're setting up, while you guys are both here, right? Husband and wife or spouses, however that works. When you're setting up your income, you need to make sure you're setting up yourself up for success for both. Not just one. You have to make sure that both of you are going to have a continuation of that income stream, whether that's maximizing your Social Security, which is something very detailed and something you really need to think about. It could be maximizing your pension option if you have a pension. A lot of companies in our area have kind of started to close and lay off and things. And as those pension options become available, you need to really think very thoroughly through what is the best option, not just for us now, but when in the event that one of us outlives the other. Okay.
Yeah. Spousal strategies.
Yes.
And you got to do the math in relationship to taxes and your overall picture and long term. You can't just look at right now what's the best. Oh, the lump sum looks the best. Well,
absolutely,
it might not be the best choice, right?
The other side of that coin, Tony, is we've talked about it's the timing, the TCS, time, combine, and sequence acronym. It's how we time, combine, and sequence our income. Whereas later on in life, maybe you're spending a little more from, or doing Roth conversion, spending a little more from the pre-tax today. Because let's say you're in your 70s or 80s and you start to need more and more income. Well, let's face it, you're also probably going to need some escalation of health care. As we age, we become more frail. You're going to need more income, may get some more deductions, but you're going to need some additional money to pay those bills. So, maybe later in life, that would give you the ability, with some Roth conversion, with some tax planning strategies, to have more income later on that's not taxed as aggressively so that actually you can probably keep your income sustained at a certain level and increasing, and maybe keep your tax bracket as suppressed as you possibly can. If not, maybe even drop it a little bit. So
Yeah, minimize your tax
yeah,
burden.
time combined and sequence. How do you do that effectively? How do you put all the pieces together? I think a lot's said about, where to invest your money, but very seldom do we talk about, or do you hear advisors talk about how to place your money effectively for taxation and for that burden that could follow.
Sure.
And then, of course, let's keep it going. So that's your spouse, right? I mean, and here again, at the end of the day, one of us is probably going to pass early, Tony, and your marriage, my marriage. Let's
Yeah.
face it. If you look at statistics, the husband usually predeceases the wife just because life expectancy.
Yeah.
And here again, only 25%, I think, was the statistic, and this has been some shows back, that only is governed by her your what am I thinking of? Sorry, brain moment, guys. This is why you don't go to Disney the night before and then come back in the next morning. Uh, your gene pool is not gonna
Yeah.
dictate more than about 25%. So sorry, thank you for that. But then we have now longevity, but then at some point we all know two things that are certain. Ben Franklin said it, and it's been the same for years: death and taxes. What happens when the death of the second spouse occurs? Well, kids, obviously, relatives. If you don't have any children, nieces, nephews, folks, the issue that those guys are going to run into, that maybe you and your spouse won't, is that when you pass and you leave your money to your spouse, or he or she leaves their money to you, you have a lot of options. If you make a mistake, in most cases, you can back up and punt. You can redo things. You can, as they used to say, when you play stickball on the playground, do over. You can go back and you can have another swing at bat.
Yeah. Spousal inheritance. There are a lot
But
better options.
children, whenever
Nope.
they make their decision and they elect it, that is permanent. They are stuck, right?
Yep.
That money is like a check valve. It goes out, it cannot come back in. And if you don't leave them in a good position, taxes, and this is why we keep talking about taxes. Taxes may not be something that they have to only contend with on the income side, but it could be an estate issue.
Yeah.
Now that's become a very small issue for a lot of people because of the new Tax Cuts and Jobs Act. It's over $30 million. So a lot of people aren't gonna fall in that, Tony. I mean, just like you'll have to deal with it with your kids, the 30 million threshold. But most of us peons will not, and that's that's just something we all have to overcome.
I wish. I
Yeah.
wish. Yeah.
So
That's real
taxes.
money even to you, Travis.
Yeah, I mean, 10 million here, 10 million there. All of a sudden, we're talking real money.
Yeah.
But taxes, obviously, when you're trying to create a plan for maybe your next generation, whether you're using a generation skipping trust or whether you're using any number of trust tools, maybe it's just sitting them down and letting them understand the 10-year rule. Right. The 10-year rule. So Tony, if let's say you're over RMD age and you leave your money to your daughter, to your children, guess what? They can take it over 10 years. And instead of having that big lump sum, maybe from your pension or 401k or whatever you're leaving them in legacy, maybe instead of taking, say, 500,000 in a lump sum, losing 200 to taxes, maybe they take 50 grand a year plus or minus earnings for 10 years. That's probably going to cut their taxes in half. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, that could essentially leave them a bigger legacy just by giving them the strategies and the tools and the information to make a good decision. Right. So here's the last thing I'm going to talk about, because I feel like some of this we've also covered in great detail, but this is a topic that's kind of taboo. Nobody wants to talk about it. But what happens if you outlive your heirs? What happens if you don't have children or nieces or nephews or immediate family members that you want to leave a legacy to, or that you can, because maybe once again, you've outlived them. You're 100 and God forbid, but things like that do happen.
Oh yeah.
That's where you need to think about, okay, do I want to benefit a specific cause? Do I want to maybe create a legacy for a different purpose? Maybe it's gift to your local art, your local art community, whether it's gift to your, maybe do a gift in foundation or to the trust of your local university or wherever your alma mater is.
Yeah.
I
Or a
mean,
church, a
or
lot of
church or
people. Yeah.
charity. I mean, these are the types of things that I think we need to break that taboo and break that barrier that we don't want to talk about. But folks, at some point, we're all going to pass.
Yeah.
That is a fact of life. None of us like to acknowledge it, but it's true.
Yeah.
And the question is, are we leaving the legacy we want to leave?
Yeah.
Because if let's be very very frank, Tony, there's only three entities or three people that can inherit your assets, and those are your children or family members, your church or charity or organization, and the IRS. And if you don't pick the first two, by default the IRS becomes number one, because everything will not have a purpose, not have a direction, and inevitably will probably lose more to taxes, to unsound planning than they would have otherwise.
Yeah.
The issue is a lot of people don't have these conversations, and they really need to. And they're tough, they're difficult. I get it, but folks, what in life worth having is not like work, right? Usually looks like overalls, does not look like a three-piece suit. It's work. It's something we got to
Right.
think about, we got to think through. And that's why I really love the ability that we have to do that for our clients, is to help them think of the questions that they didn't even think they needed to ask.
Right.
Right? How important and how impactful is it to have a conversation that you go, Travis, I never even that never even crossed my mind. Well, folks, that's why an advisor that is in your corner, is your advocate, is so important. And once again, if you're out there listening and you're a current client, you know what I'm speaking is true. But you also know that there are probably those out there that are listening that maybe are going through tough times right now. They're struggling. Maybe they were part of the some of the local layoffs, the IP International Paper layoff or closure. Maybe they're having some real tough kitchen table conversations and they don't know which way to turn. That's why you need to hit the forward button on this week's show. You need to send this to them. This could be the best decision that you ever made for them. And then once again, folks, if you're out there listening, give us a call, 877-269-0839. We have our local college courses that are coming up for our fall semester. We're going to have Savannah, Bluffton, Beaufort, Hilton Head, Pooler, Statesboro covered. If you guys need questions answered, that's what that time is for. So spend 4 hours with us, and I can assure you it will be information that it will be impactful to you and to your legacy. So, Tony, that's an out of the box show. I know it's tough for people to hear, but it's something I think we all need to.
Well, yeah, and just really quick before we go, once again, Travis, for our listeners out there, if you are one of those people who have been given an option, maybe you're laid off, or you're giving a buyout option, or have options with your pension, or from your job, don't do it without working with a trusted financial professional. Don't make that decision. They should pick up the phone and give you a call. What's that number one more time, Travis?
Absolutely, Tony. 877-269-0839. 877-269-0839.
All right. And listeners, thanks for tuning in. That does it for today's episode of Navigating Your Retirement with our host, Travis Chance.